Hi guys, it's Ella. So first of all, happy Easter, because that's important. Second of all, everything else aside, I'm going to review Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor for you. I finished this book last night, and honestly, I think this is the only book that I've ever read that had made me want to do a review at 3:30 in the morning right after I finished it. Also the first book that I ever marked anything in. You see how many there are? Yeah. This is the third book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. So while I am not going to ruin or spoil anything in this book in the series, I'm afraid that it's inevitable that I'm gonna spoil stuff for Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Days of Blood and Starlight. So if you haven't read those, you should probably maybe think about going away and reading them and coming back, because this book is great. You should know that I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and that I loved it. And I'm going to talk about it. First off, if you noticed, I have a sticker here. And it says exclusive Barnes & Noble's edition, signed art print inside. In case you're wondering what the art print looks like, I'm going to show you. And it's signed by Laini Taylor, and it's really cool, and I like it. It's Caro, and it took me a second to find where it was in the book because it was on the very back flap, but still really cool. So, but let's get talking about the book. If you've watched my 2 reviews of this series, I did a review for Daughter of Smoke and Bone and for Days of Blood and Starlight. You know that I love Laini Taylor's writing. I don't think I've ever been able to articulate why I love it, but I'm about to. So basically the way Laini Taylor writes is a little bit like a mystery. She only gives you what she thinks you need to know and not everything, even though the book is written in third-person point of view and it switches between different characters depending on whose perspective it would be best represented from. That's who Laini Taylor presents it from. Now, this is an urban fantasy, obviously, and a lot of the characters are very fantastical, but at the same time, there's a lot of regular people, and she develops her characters so well. So well. I'm sorry. Susanna used to get on my nerves, and now I love her. I love her so much, and she is such a good friend in this book and just supports Caro so much. As far as the writing goes, Laini Taylor's writing is a little bit more mature than most YA novels. What I mean by that is it's written, I call it, it's written in circles. Basically, Laini Taylor doesn't just straight up go and tell you something. And this is just a vague example, but she doesn't go and say, the sunset was yellow, or the sky was yellow. She will say something along the lines of, the sky was the color of a ripe lemon on a warm summer day. Same concept, just much more poetic and much more visually pleasing. And I think it really inspires the reader's imagination in that way. Now, this is a 600-page book. This is a hefty volume. I read it in about 3 or 4 days. It did take me a little bit just to get through it. It also took me a little bit to get into the story, and the reason for that is that Days of Blood and Starlight, the epilogue, 2 armies are in the Kirin Caves, and this book picks up way before that. Get to the Kirin Caves, like the scene from the epilogue is on page 186 in this. That's a long time to go and just get a lot of backstory, especially if you know where they're going to end up. It's like the epilogue in Days of Blood and Starlight was almost a spoiler for this one, which is weird, right? Maybe? I don't know. But I definitely love this book. Like I said, I read it until 3:30 last night. Give it 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely recommend it to people who just love beautiful writing and a very creative story. Even though it can be a little bit confusing just because there's so many different puzzle pieces that are written out and then they all have to fit together to make a cohesive whole. It just takes a second to get there and just get used to it. And there's so many theories that I had when I was reading this. Like Eliza, if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. Who the heck is Eliza? Really loved the way the characters grew and learned new things about themselves and realized that it's okay to be happy or to want more for their lives or to want more for their people and just to fight hard for it. And I definitely appreciated that. I think, and this is gonna sound awful, but my favorite character, I think, was Liraz and Ziri in this book. Just Ziri, and I want to spoil you so bad right now, but I'm not gonna, because you need to read it. On page 510, I'm going to read you a quote, and I totally marked it, and it's so beautiful, and it made me cry. Huge crocodile tears running down my face. And keep in mind, out of context, it's not gonna mean anything to you, but if you've read this book, you'll know. So the quote is on 510, and it says, "This misbegotten warrior, fiercest of them all, had crouched in an icy stream bed to sing a chimera soul into her canteen because she hadn't known what else to do." I cried so hard. So hard. It was ridiculous. I'm not even embarrassed. I'm really just not embarrassed. Why? Because the entire chapter is so emotionally filled and just so pretty. The ending was pretty well wrapped up. It was a little bit confusing, and the way it ended, I do feel a spin-off coming up. Hopefully. Please, 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 because I want so much more of these characters, and I don't think we got enough. I don't think that it was, the way it was finished, it was very open-ended, and I definitely think, maybe that's just my very strong wishful thinking, but I definitely think that there will be a spin-off series, and I'm actually really excited. If you have not read this book, I strongly, strongly recommend it, just because it's a beautiful story, and it's a story of hope, it's a story of love. So let me know if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it. If you haven't, let me know when you're going to be reading it. I don't even want to know if. I want to know when. That's all that matters. Because this book, this is why writing is considered an art form. Exhibit A. So, I hope you have a good night, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know where all that stuff goes. Let me know if you've read this book. Let me know if you enjoyed my review, and I hope you have a great night. Bye!